Hello and welcome to TVC News at 10, the special edition which features Flashback, a recap of stories that made the headlines during the week. First, the news for today. We begin in Kano State, where the Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II, was conspicuously absent at the symbolic installation ceremony that saw the emergence of 4 new first-class emirs in the state. This is despite a court order on Friday seeking to stop the breakup of the Kano Emirate. Correspondent Ibrahim Isa witnessed the coronation of the 4 new emirs.
From 1 to 5, the number of Kano emirs have increased. Kano government had split the Emirate Council into 5, and now first-class emirs have been appointed. Rano, Gaya, Araye, and Bichi will now be ruled by Abubakar Tafida II, Ibrahim Abdul Qadir Gaya, Ibrahim Abubakar II, and son of late Emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero. Residents of Kano witnessed the symbolic installation ceremony held at Sani Abacha Stadium. The government said the decentralization was important to improve security, create jobs, and revive history.
Some of the traditional rulers, historically, they used to be independent. Another issue that we have taken into consideration is the developmental aspirations, the need by the people, and the challenges of development.
The new emirs advocated for an improvement in agriculture, education, and security in Kano State. The state would compete with other developing states if development in these sectors are achieved.
I wish to assure His Excellency and the entire people of Kano State that we will work with the Emir of Kano as the chairman of the Kano State Emirate Council to promote the development of the state and ensure peaceful existence of our people. We will do everything possible to achieve the purpose of the creation of these new emirates.
The Kano High Court had issued an order holding this event. A restraining order had prevented government from engaging in activities that would amount to splitting the Kano Emirate barely 15 hours before the commencement of the installation ceremony. But the Kano state government still went ahead, insisting appointment letters had been served to the emirs before restraining order. This ceremony marks the beginning of 4 new dynasties in the state. Question many have asked is, can the court hold an act of parliament given assent by the governor? Ibrahim Isa, TVC News, Kano.
And to the education sector now, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has released the results of its 2019 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examinations. Of over 1.8 million candidates were registered for the examination, the board only released the results of 1,792,719 candidates after several weeks of delay. Helen Osemide Akins tells us more.
The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board conducted its 2019 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examinations between April 11th and 17th, 2019 in over 700 computer-based test centers across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. The examination was not without challenges, as some candidates faced issues of biometric failure, disqualification of exam centers, and system failure. 1,886,508 candidates registered for the examination across the country, including candidates who registered at foreign centers. The results of the examination had long been expected after weeks of the examination.
God says the delay in the release of the results is deliberate in order to checkmate issues such as multiple registrations, alleged extortions of candidates, and impersonations that occurred during the examinations.
The board disclosed that the results of 34,120 candidates were being withheld for several infractions.
Some 34,120 results are being withheld. including the results of 15,145 candidates being further clarified as identical, the possibility of being identical twins or siblings is there. And I've told you earlier how we have created platform for them, how we are on phone with them, we have sent tests to them, we have sent email to them to say you belong to this category. Go and do A, B, C, because we want to further scrutinize these 15,000.
As part of efforts to curb future irregularities, the board says it has delisted over 100 computer-based centers for registration-related misconduct.
116 centers have been delisted or suspended. Out of this number, 18 of them had been previously sanctioned by the governing board of JAMB, with suspension for between 1 and 3 years for registration-related misconduct.
Candidates are advised to check their results using phone numbers they used to register the examination. Helen Osamede Akins, TVC News, Abuja.
Nigeria and the Republic of Benin have signed an interconnectivity pact to integrate their border trade operations. Both countries' custom organization negotiated a seamless connectivity that will address many of the border trade challenges between them. TVC News correspondent Ifunanya Eze has the story.
The trade agreement between Nigeria and Republic of Benin is expected to create a seamless trade window that will fast-track cargo movement between both countries. The automated integration requires the sharing of relevant information and data collation by both countries. The aim is to facilitate trade, check smuggling, block revenue leakages, and strengthen security checks on goods destined for Nigeria. The customs organizations of both countries agreeing on modalities to establish a full automation of the border corridor. For Nigeria, a digital window will simplify trading procedures at the borders.
The case now is any goods that is destined from Nigeria and is being discharged in Cotonou, the Nigeria Customs Service will have their information in advance. And goods that are leaving as export to Benin Republic, the Benin Custom will have the same information. And the system we're building here is an automatic system that actually translates documents into two languages, that's French and English.
There will be no more formalities, too many formalities about border crossing. It's one crossing. You don't do the traditional border crossing. You cross, you finish formalities in Benin Republic, then you now go to Nigeria, you also do. That causes time, delay for transporters and traders. Is one border crossing. This is what imposes this formality, and it is very important. It is key for the development of the two countries and the region at large.
On its part, Republic of Benin affirmed its readiness to respect the terms of agreement on mutual information sharing.
And que nos deux chefs d'État étaient venus ici.
The two customs of Nigeria and Benin have been working together to have the same information sharing system so that traders would enjoy a seamless procedure that will ensure fast delivery of their goods.
Alors, donc, ce que nous faisons aujourd'hui, c'est dans cette droite ligne-là.
Très contente parce que l'interconnectivité.
Our two head of state initiated this project of exchanging information to reduce trade formalities. We are already late regarding this project compared to other countries. When completed, other border agencies will benefit from this automated integration.
Deux présidents de la République, il faudrait qu'on soit interconnectés et que l'intégration soit vraiment réelle.
With both parties showing commitment to the implementation of the agreement, it is expected that trade on the border corridor would be effectively facilitated. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Seme.
To health-related stories now, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control has launched the 2018 annual report that reflects the achievements made during outbreaks in the past year. The launch of the document took place during a reception organized for the Minister of Health in Abuja. TVC's Kemi Balogun has the story.
Important collaboration between critical public health agencies during outbreaks are key to curtailing spreads when diseases like Lassa fever, Ebola and monkeypox took center stage. In the past 4 years, Nigeria has battled to curtail several episodes of different outbreaks.
In 2018, the Lassa fever outbreak occurred across 18 states with more than 1,000 suspected cases and more than 100 deaths were recorded.
The largest outbreak of Lassa fever was in 2019 with more than 2,000 suspected cases, 544 confirmed and positive cases, and more than 100 deaths across 21 states. Heads of public agencies are gathered for this launch of the 2018 Nigeria Center for Disease Control report and a warm reception organized for the Minister of Health to highlight achievements made during the past 4 years of this present administration.
Maybe we should also talk about preparing for the next outbreak. I think what is certain is that there will always be another outbreak. It's not a question of we are rejecting it. The Christians will say we reject it. But there will be another outbreak. What we do not know is where, what, and when.
The higher surveillance system was based on paper and Excel-based submission of data. So you can imagine where a health facility collects data, the next week they send it to local government, next week they send it to the state, next week they send it to national. That's if everything works well, we get it in 4 weeks. We can't manage outbreaks like that.
The history of public health cannot be mentioned without Nigeria. You have contributed immensely in shaping the agenda of health security, but also guiding countries.
Critical areas of surveillance, raising awareness and improving laboratory capacity remain the strength to dealing with epidemics in a tropical country with a population of close to 200 million people.
For the first time, we've started pushing on surveillance on the animal health side. For many years, this has been one of our weakest links. At the same time, we know that most of the critical diseases that we face are really zoonotic diseases. And if we focus our surveillance only on human health, we miss out the big aspect of the work that we need to do. Critical to our work has been developing a laboratory infrastructure.
The evening wrapped up with great accolades for the Minister of Health by various key players in the health sector. Kemi Balogun, TVC News, Abuja.
And coming up on the news at 10, Nigerians join the global community to commemorate the 2019 World Lupus Day. That's after the break. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Nigerians have joined the global community to commemorate the 2019 World Lupus Day. The day is aimed at bringing more attention to lupus, which is an autoimmune disease that can damage any part of the body. As part of activities marking the day, medical practitioners in Lagos have highlighted concerns on the need for improved healthcare services. Abiola Shulanke reports.
Mortality rates of lupus sufferers in developing world are high. Of the 1.5 million Americans with lupus, 90% are women. It is also estimated that 1 in 250 African American women are often affected by the disease. It is the 15th annual observance of World Lupus Day, which is aimed at creating awareness about this disease. Experts say this disease usually affects women of 15 to 45 years of age, most especially women of childbearing age. This gathering is all about sensitizing the people about the disease lupus. Experts say this disease is common among women, and out of 10 persons, 1 male is often affected. An example of this male is Wanchuku Somto, an 11-year-old boy. He tells us his experience.
I had a lot, like my hair. It became something like when you put tissue inside water, as you touch it, it falls. Anywhere you touch my hair, it falls. I had the rashes. My whole body was started peeling. My temperature in the morning is high, in the night is low. I was not able to eat. I was very lean. I could not even move my 2 legs. My 2 legs was not working. They used to carry me.
Lupus is a long-term autoimmune disease that can damage any part of the body like skin, joints, and organs. The signs and symptoms of its chronic stage tend to last longer than 6 weeks and often for many years. Medical practitioners tells us more about its symptoms.
Could affect your GIT, could also affect your brain, it could also affect the respiratory system, so you have a cough. So it is the, we describe lupus as the great mimicker. It can mimic anything. It can also affect your central nervous system, whereby patients present with depression, psychosis, you actually think that they're mad.
Here are some other facts about lupus that you should know.
Lupus is a condition that is poorly understood, even by doctors. It is not an infection, it is not a spiritual attack, it is not a cancer. It's one of these very rare conditions which, for some reason, the body appears to be fighting itself.
The times have passed when such conditions went unrecognized, but to tell them that there is life, even with this condition. Good early recognition, good treatment, and compliance with what the doctors say they should do.
While there is no cure for lupus, current treatments focus on improving quality of life through controlling symptoms and minimizing outbreak. This begins with lifestyle modifications, including sun protection and diet, as well as management through medication. Abiola Sholanke, TVC News, Lagos.
The rise in cases of children being abused in various ways across the country is alarming. Despite several child protection mechanisms in operation, advocates are still being faced with challenges. Now, a group of Lagos lawyers is on a mission to prevent the abuse of children by empowering them to know their rights. Kemi Foladeyemo has the story.
According to the World Health Organization, violence against children includes all forms of violence done on people under the age of 18. Most of Nigeria's almost 200 million population is made up of the youth, with 42.54% falling within the child age bracket of 0 to 14 years. From a recent UNICEF and the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs report, about half of the number of Nigeria's children reported some form of physical violence prior to the age of 18, done by an intimate partner, parent, adult relative, or community member.
1 in every 4 Nigerian girls, 1 in every 10 Nigerian boys will experience child sexual abuse before the age of 18 years, and which puts roughly an average of 15 million children at risk. And of this magnitude, less than 5% of these children get to receive professional help.
Child abuse has become prevalent in the Nigerian society, manifesting as physical, mental, or sexual, or even neglect, degrading treatment, torture, and slavery. The 2018 report of the Lagos State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team shows a major increase of 134% in cases of rape, defilement, and domestic violence handled by the agency compared with the year 2017. Out of these figures, 279 related to child abuse, and there were 78 cases of intercourse with underage kids, legally referred to as defilement. Authorities say this means more people are reporting cases of abuse and that they can now deal directly with the victims and willing witnesses. This spike has also reflected in the number of cases before the newly designated Sexual Offences Court in Lagos. But there are concerns about the level of progress there.
The judges are overwhelmed. They are. The special offense court, it's not enough. Because like one particular court has 800 cases.
Most of the challenges we are facing is the continuity of our matters, of the cases. When parties don't come to court, when the victims are not in court, there's no way we can continue with the case. There's no way the courts can give judgment on a matter when there's no witness in court.
The Nigeria Bar Association in Ikeja is now leading experts to help prevent this scourge and arm school children with crucial information.
If an abuse has not occurred in our school, it does not mean that it's not happening elsewhere. You know, when people are not informed, they are deformed. So an information of this nature is very, very essential, especially for the growing kids. kids, you know, because as they grow in their respective homes, we don't go there with them.
That there are some children that come to court, they don't know their past that were violated. They give you other names, and that affects the case. So we want to tell the children who a predator is, who a pedophile is, how to identify such a pedophile.
Even as a boy, your chest region is your private part. And then sexual abuse can be contactual or not contactual. Most of us are versatile with the but non-contactual. When you expose a child to pornography, we are teaching them not able to show you dirty film.
The pupils are receptive to this new knowledge and willing to share.
This part of the head enhances stimulation. So no adult or no one should be able to like stimulate you for like carnal desires. For like example, like your feet. Any part of the body that has this tissue should not be touched because it also enhances stimulation as well.
And if someone tries to play an unsafe play with you, you shout no, run away and tell a trusted adult. And if they say they are busy, keep telling them until they answer.
Denri Sola has also learned a golden rule called PANTS.
P means private are private. A, always remember that your body belongs to you. N, no means no. T, talk about secrets that upset you. S, speak up, someone can help.
Experts say preventing child abuse through initiatives like this are a lot better than dealing with its consequences. The reality now is that child abuse has become everyone's problem, and prevention will tackle this scourge decisively. Kemi Fola-Adeyemo, TVC News, Lagos.
Residents of two communities in Asa local government area of Kwara State are worried they may soon be cut off from other parts of the state. This is because their main road is now almost cut into two. Our correspondent Ibrahim Alege tells us more.
Buduegba and Otek communities in Asa local government area of Kwara State share boundary with Oyo State. Residents are largely farmers and traders. The road that passes through these communities is the old Ilorin-Ogbomoso Expressway constructed in the 70s. It served as the major link road between the north and the southwest. The construction of the new Ilorin-Ogbomoso dual carriageway by the Obasanjo administration diverted attention of most motorists away from the old road. Consequently, less pressure on the road and less maintenance. And now, this ditch.
The water that comes from the other side overflow the retainer and draw behind the retainer, heating up, chopping off the basement of the retainer. Sooner or later, this retainer is going down. That's not a cause. It's a gradual process.
Federal road maintenance agents, they've come to the aid of the community, but the work done seems to be below expectation. As a result of this, it has caused a lot of damage to
The road is now begging for attention. Residents fear that they may soon be cut off from Ilorin, the state capital, if nothing is done urgently. They say unsuspecting motorists are falling into this ditch, especially at night.
The other time, a trailer fell down here. With the help of the people of the community and other members of the road user, we are able to rescue those the hazardous victims. So the road have been bad and people have been felling it. Even last year January or February, a boy from this community fell on the road and the boy lost his life.
That we want government intervention, especially through Federal Road Maintenance Agency. We want them to intervene, particularly we want them to expand the culvert here so that it will be more easy for the water coming from the town to drop into and move into the river.
We cannot pass easily here except we stay there, or two vehicles cannot come to this place at a time. We need the federal government to come and reconstruct the road urgently, because to save the life of people and property.
We visited the Federal Controller of Works in Kwara State, Wasiu Atitebi, who promised that a permanent solution will be found to the spot.
We got their letter last week, and FEMA has been notified to immediately see what they can do to address the situation. And we are not limiting it to FEMA too. So on our own part here, to Federal Ministry of Works, we are thinking about the permanent solution to that location. I will therefore appeal to the community to be patient with the federal government.
The worry of the people of this community is quite obvious. They fear that this road may soon cut into two if nothing urgent is done. This is so because of the high volume of water coming from the other side of the road to this particular location, especially during this rainy season. Ibrahim Alige, TVC News, Buduegba Ote, Kwara State.
And still to come on the news, the legendary filmmaker Eddie Ogboma dies at 78. That story in a moment. Outside Nigeria, President Cyril Ramaphosa and his party, the African National Congress, the ANC, has been elected for another term in South Africa. The ANC, which has led South Africa's government since the fall of apartheid in 1994, was expected to prevail in the elections, but corruption and the country's stagnant economy tested the party's standing. In the end, it won slightly more than 57% of the vote. The first time in 25 years, the party has failed to win at least 60% in national elections. And supporters of the African National Congress celebrated in the streets of Soweto, Johannesburg, after the party swept to victory in South Africa's general election. Soweto is the country's biggest township and where many of the country's political battles were fought. Despite the ANC's victory, it was the worst electoral performance by Mandela's former liberation movement, which has governed South Africa since the country's first free election marks the end of white minority rule in 1994.
We're very excited. We are very excited about the elections, about the outcomes. We knew we were going to come out number one, ANC, and that's it.
So I feel ANC, I'm so excited ANC won. 57%, DA is 20, EFF is 10.
ANC is the oldest party in South Africa. So it's going to rule until Jesus comes.
Because Ramaphosa promised to deliver, and we have faith in him that he will deliver.
Let's talk sports now. The Super Eagles will commence their preparations for the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations in Sabah, Delta State on Saturday. That's the 2nd of June. The Nigeria Football Federation Director of Communications, Ademola Olajiri, said on Friday that the team would play a friendly with Warriors of Zimbabwe on the 8th of June and fly to Egypt the following day. Nigeria will trade tackles with Burundi on the 22nd of June, confront Guinea on the 26th of June, and tackle Madagascar on the 30th of June, all in Alexandria. And Tottenham manager Mauricio Pochettino says it needs £17 million a year to join Serie A champions Juventus. Now, Pochettino has guided Spurs to the Champions League final, but has threatened to leave the Premier League side if they do not match his ambition. It says it will be stupid to stay at the club if they expect similar levels of success without changing the way they are run. The Champions League finalists have not signed a player since the 31st of January 2018, and Pochettino plans talks with chairman Daniel Levy this summer after 5 years in charge. He has turned Spurs into a regular top 4 team during his time in charge, while spending less money than their rivals and nothing in the past 2 transfer windows. Manchester United midfielder Anderson Herrera has confirmed they will leave the club when his contract expires this summer. In a video posted on Twitter on Saturday morning, the Spaniard paid tribute to both the fans and club for the 5 amazing years he has spent at the club. Herrera is out of contract at Old Trafford this summer and looks to be edging closer to joining Paris Saint-Germain on a free transfer. After joining from Athletic Bilbao in the summer of 2014, Herrera went on to win the FA Cup, League Cup and European League titles. Talks between United and Herrera over a new deal broke down, prompting the midfielder to reportedly sign a 3-year deal with the League One champions. Now, the Nigerian Armed Forces have announced a date for their annual half-marathon race holding in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Men of the armed forces and sister security agencies are expected to take part in the 21-kilometer road race, which holds in June this year. At the unveiling of the logo for the marathon, which is in its 3rd edition, the Chief of Defense Staff says the race is to enhance healthy competition and strengthen unity among the forces. 11 security agencies in the country are expected to present athletes for the competition.
This year's edition of the half marathon has as its theme, Together We Are, signifying the unity of purpose among the security agencies.
The CDS has approved the 15th of June for the event. 11 security agencies, including services, are expected to actively participate and complete the 21.5-kilometer long half marathon. The takeoff point, like was said before, is Dede, the National Open University of Nigeria in Kubwa on the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway, while the terminal point will be at the Abu-Ironsi Cantonment Sports Complex.
Away from sports now, veteran actor and filmmaker Eddie Ugboma has passed on. A statement authorized by the chairman of the Eddie Ugboma Trust Fund Committee says he died in the hospital where he was scheduled to undergo surgery on Monday. Eddie Ugboma was a former chairman of the Nigerian Films Corporation. He was known for his great passion for excellence in the Nigerian film-making industry. Among his great productions are The Death of Black President and The Boy is Good. And welcome to Flashback, a recap of major stories during the week. We begin on a cheery note as the lady abducted at the Plateau State Polytechnic staff quarters was released on Monday evening. Abigail Emirs was kidnapped by gunmen who invaded the Polytechnic, got to the home of the Polytechnic's assistant registrar and took his sister. And still on Monday, the police detained the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the last election in Osun State. Senator Ademola Adeleke, he was arrested after honoring an invitation at the police force headquarters in Abuja. Senator Adeleke has been having legal battles. The election tribunal had declared him the winner of the governorship election, but he still has to answer the case against him over his senior secondary school certificate. And still on election matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission appeared before the Kano Governorship Election Petition Tribunal on Monday after the People's Democratic Party in the state filed a motion on notice demanding for its appearance over alleged denial of access to voting materials. The materials, according to the PDP, would be used to back the earlier petition filed at the Election Tribunal. Counsel to the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Maliki Kulia, who spoke to newsmen shortly after the sitting, said the filed motion on notice was to complement the earlier granted ex parte order given to them by the tribunal for INEC to grant them access to voting materials. On his part, counsel to INEC, Adedeji Adebayo, said the allegation that INEC has been depriving them access to inspect materials is untrue. And it was a sad news from Borno State as militants attacked Molai village on Tuesday with sporadic gunshots and explosions rocking the suburb of Maiduguri. Many residents were forced out of their homes.
This explosion has caused many of the residents within that community of Malawantikura, NNPC depot, Amule, to run and scamper into the city center of Maiduguri. For now, it is not clear what is really going on within that particular axis. We await the military and security forces to give us an update because it's already in the evening and it's dark. But for now, as I'm talking to you, the explosions and gunshots have subsided and we cannot hear any more sounds. We await any other development from that particular end of Mule.
That was the voice of our Borno State correspondent. Now, Tuesday also saw the bill of People's Democratic Party candidate in the last governorship election in Osun State granted bail in the sum of 2 million naira. Senator Ademola Adeleke was arraigned before a magistrate court on a 5-count charge bordering on alleged false statement and forgery.
The senator representing Osun West Senatorial District of Osun State pleaded not guilty to the 5-count charge of alleged false statement and certificate forgery brought against him by the Nigerian police. Mr. Adeleke was brought before a magistrate court in Pape, presided over by Mohammed Shehu after he honored an invitation extended to him on Monday by the police. Counsel to Mr. Adeleke told the court that it would become impracticable for the court to proceed with the arraignment on grounds that the defendant is already standing trial on the same charge in 2 different high courts. He informed the court that Justice Inyang Eku of the Federal High Court Abuja had on Friday 3rd May granted Mr. Adeleke permission to travel abroad for medical attention and ordered the police not to hinder his medical trip scheduled for 7th May 2019. He also presented before the court an order of a high court in Osun State which specifically ordered the police not to arrest or prevent Mr. Adeleke from traveling abroad for medical attention. Counsel to Mr. Adeleke subsequently moved an application for his bail. Although the prosecution counsel opposed the applications on grounds that the defendants did not show evidence of ill health, Justice Zuberu in his ruling granted bail in the sum of 2 million naira and directing him to also produce a surety in like sum who must be a resident of the court's jurisdiction. The magistrate held that going by the hierarchy of courts, the magistrate court is bound by the orders of the High Court. He further held that the court cannot stop the defendants from enjoying his fundamental rights as ordered by the High Courts. The matter was adjourned to 24th of June for commencement of trial.
Concerned about the security situation in Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday sought the assistance of the United Nations and the international community in reversing the devastation caused by Boko Haram in the northeast. He made the appeal when he received visiting President of the United Nations General Assembly, Maria Fernanda Espinosa Garcia.
Nigeria is recognized for the crucial role it has played over the years in the peacekeeping process for the United Nations. It is one reason why the President of the United Nations General Assembly in our West African tour has stopped by to see President Muhammadu Buhari. But of nagging concern to the Nigerian President is the condition of internally displaced persons in the country, especially about 1 million children who neither know their parents nor where they come from. He seeks the assistance of the international community, which he believes will be invaluable in reversing the devastation visited on Nigeria by the Boko Haram insurgency. He also speaks on how climate change has negatively affected about 30 million people dependent on the shrinking Lake Chad, with at least half of them being Nigerians. President Buhari insists that the international community needs to play a role, since recharging the lake through interbasin water transfer from the Congo River is beyond the financial power of the affected countries. Speaking later with State House correspondents, Ms. Espinosa Garces pledged to call the attention of the international community to the hurting effects of the Lake Chad problem and other issues raised by the Nigerian leader.
The Lake Chad is one of the living examples of a multi-dimensional crisis.
The United Nations Security Council reform is an ongoing process, which Ms. Espinosa Garces describes as the most complex, divisive and contentious negotiation process at the United Nations. It started 25 years ago and is yet to be resolved. The tenure of the United Nations General Assembly President is nearing its end, and she is likely to be replaced by a Nigerian.
Now we move to Wednesday, which ushered in a new era in Kano Emirate. In place of one emirate and monarch, there are now 5. The governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Gandoji, signed the Emir Appointment and Deposition Law passed by the State House of Assembly. The law gives room for the creation of 4 new emirates in the state. With that, Kano now has Rano, Gaya, Karai and Bichi emirates in addition to Kano Emirate. Governor Gandoji is happy with this and says new emirs were already announced. And that same day, the Nigeria Labour Congress, the NLC, threatened to grind the nation to a halt if the minister fails to swear in Frank Kokori as board chairman, Nigeria Social Investment Trust Fund. This came as a peaceful protest by Labour at the residence of Labour and Productivity Minister Chris Ngige turned bloody as youths allegedly hired by the minister engaged in a free-for-all with the protesters.
It started as a peaceful protest by the NLC to register its displeasure with attempts by the Labour Minister to replace Kokori as the chairman of the NSITF board. Early Wednesday morning, Labour mobilized its members and trucks to block the gates of the minister's residence in their Sokoro area of Abuja. But stern-looking youths soon invaded the streets and a free-for-all ensued. By the time the dust settled, the roads were littered with vandalized vehicles, stones, leaves and planks. Some of those caught in the melee were injured and rushed to the hospital. Others alleged they were dispossessed of their phones, money and other valuables.
We didn't go there with any weapon, neither are we trying to fight anybody. We're just there peacefully.
I said no! The leadership of the NLC describes the incident as unfortunate.
If it means shutting down the economy, we'll do that. But one man certainly is not above the law. He cannot be above the law.
Some of our members, you know, have been seriously injured. You saw some of them, you know, but at the same time, we can also account for 2 of them.
For the first time in the 4 years of the Buhari administration, Dr. Ngige was absent at this year's Workers' Day celebration. He also did not show up at the centenary celebration of the International Labour Organization, where Labour leaders came in their numbers. NLC says it will hold its National Administrative Council meeting as well as its Central Working Committee meeting on Thursday to decide its next line of action.
We'll be back with more flashback stories in a moment. Stay with us. For the first time, the Central Bank of Nigeria may be having a governor to serve a second term. This is as President Muhammadu Buhari on Thursday nominated Godwin Emefiele for a second term. Mr. Emefiele was first appointed in 2014 by former President Goodluck Jonathan and was retained when President Buhari came to office in 2015. Before assuming office of the CBN governor, the 57-year-old banker was the group managing director of Zenith Bank PLC. And it was a resounding victory for Governor of Osun State, Gbege Oyetola, as the Court of Appeal nullified the judgment of the Election Petition Tribunal, which declared the candidate of the opposition, that's the PDP, the winner of last year's election on Thursday.
Majority judgment of the 4 members of the panel, the court resolved 10 out of 12 issues raised in favor of Governor Gbege Oyetola. The Court of Appeal's majority judgment was primarily anchored on the alleged absence of a member of the tribunal, Justice Peter Obiora, who read the majority judgment of the tribunal during the February 6, 2018 proceedings of the tribunal. Justice Juman Sankey held that the absence of Justice Obiora on that day nullified the entire proceedings and the verdicts of the tribunal. 3 members of the panel, Justice Abubakar Yahaya, Azaya Akejo, and Bitrus Sanga agreed with Justice Sankey. But a member of the panel, Justice George Mbaba, dissented from the majority judgment, holding that the alleged absence of Justice Obiora from the February 6, 2018 proceedings of the tribunal was mere speculation.
The minority judgment of the tribunal has become the majority judgment of the Court of Appeal.
Counsel to Senator Adeleke says that they would exercise their rights of appeal by heading to the Supreme Court.
But at this appeal, the majority decision went against us.
INEC had declared Governor Yetola and the APC winner of the Osun State governorship election on the basis of the cumulative results of the 22nd of September 2018 main election and the 27th of September 2018 supplementary polls.
The face-off between the Nigeria Labour Congress, the NLC, and the Ministry of Labour and Employment led the NLC to resolve to embark on a protest in Abuja on Monday. That's next week. NLC President Ayuba Waba on Thursday disclosed that the peaceful protest is to register workers' displeasure at the violence meted on its members who picketed the residence of the Labour and Employment Minister Chris Ngige on Wednesday. NLC stated this at the end of an emergency meeting of its Central Working Committee in Abuja. Labour equally wants President Muhammad Buhari to break its silence over the status of the appointment of Frank Kokore as Chairman, Board of the Nigeria Social Investment Trust Fund. Let's see what happened on Friday. We told you that almost 900 children who were recruited into the civilian joint task force were released in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. UN Child Agency UNICEF says more than 3,500 children were recruited between 2013 and 2017 to fight insurgency in northern Nigeria. UNICEF says more than 1,700 children have been released since the civilian JTF signed an action plan in 2017 to end child recruitment. The body said it would not give up the fight for the children and would continue until there is no child left in the ranks of all armed groups in Nigeria. The UN agency also added that it is working with the Nigerian government and local authorities to help reintegrate those released. Also on Friday, as residents of Kano expect an implementation of a split in the Kano Emirate, the State High Court ordered Governor Abdullahi Ganduje not to implement the breakup. Ruling on a suit filed by Minority Leader and Minority Chief Whip of the State Assembly, the judge also ordered Kano government to suspend any move to demarcate the Kano Emirate pending the determination of the case filed before him. You would recall that on Wednesday, the governor assented to a bill leaving Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi, with the control of 10 out of 44 local government areas. The move was said to be targeted at the Emir of Kano, that's Mohammed Sanusi, who reportedly worked against the re-election of the governor. Now, the last is yet to be heard from the trial of the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, as the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja Division on Friday struck out the appeals filed by Justice Walter Onoge in relation to his trial before the CCT.
The appeal also challenged the refusal of the CCT to be bound by the orders of the Federal High Court and Industrial Court directing the tribunal to halt his trial and the arrest warrant issued against him by the CCT. Delivering the lead unanimous judgment on the ex parte order granted by the CCT, Justice Stephen Adder held, since the ex parte order has been spent and cannot serve any useful purpose, and judgment in the substantive matter had been delivered, the appeal is hereby struck out. Justice Adder instructing out another appeal filed by Justice Onoye on the bench warrant issued against him by the tribunal held, the records of proceedings transmitted to the court did not show that bench warrant was issued. No supplementary records to establish that warrant of arrest was issued. In the third appeal, which challenged the CCT's decision to hear a motion challenging the jurisdiction along with the main trial and deliver judgment same day, Justice Tonuade Kumalife Wilson held, the general principles of law is that when jurisdiction of a court is challenged, the issue of jurisdiction must first be determined. But the specific legislation in Section 306 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 overrides the general principle of law. In the fourth appeal by Justice Onoye on the refusal of the CCT to obey the Federal High Court, a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, and the National Industrial Court, Justice Peter Ige held, judgments, rulings, decisions, and orders issued by courts of law are sacrosanct and must be obeyed until they are set aside. Parties are bound by court orders and the order must be treated with levity. The tribunal ought to have tarried a while and made efforts to set aside the court's order to avoid fostering anarchy. He stressed that tribunal cannot sit as an appeal court on the decision of high courts. The rule of law must be allowed to circulate for peace. The CCT had on 18th of April found Justice Walter Onoyen guilty of contravening the Code of Conduct for Public Officers.
And that's all at this hour. You can follow us on our social media platforms for updates. We're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram using the handle at TVC News NG. You can also get details of all the stories we're reporting on our website. It's tvcnews.tv. Thanks for watching.